The following program contains names, places, and events that have been anonymized or fictionalized for the purposes of protection and safety. The following program is provided for entertainment purposes only, and any commentary from the hosts are strictly conjecture and should not be held as making any definitive statements about the truth or identity of any particular individuals or circumstances. If you or a loved one are involved in an abusive relationship, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for support.
Happy Monday!
Hello, everybody. Oh, we have such a good guest today.
I love her. You guys are going to absolutely adore her.
You're going to be obsessed. One of those storytellers that is just going to make you laugh, even if you want to scream or cry or whatever. You know, it's like we laugh through it.
Yeah, you guys are going to, her story is going to kind of blow you away.
She is the best.
But before we get into it, I want to remind you guys, first of all, I want to thank everybody for listening to our show, but our Patreoners, you guys, and this community, I cannot speak highly enough about our community of Patreoners. You guys are amazing. If you want to join the Patreon, it's only $5 a month, and you get 2 bonus episodes a month, and we have our little community where we get together and chat. So we would love to have you guys there.
We also give them early access to merch, which may or may not be happening somewhat soon.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. And we're starting a book club. We've talked about it, but if you haven't heard, we're reading The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty, and it's very good. And that's going to be through Patreon. So we'll do a virtual meetup. It's going to be on November 24th. So there's still time to listen or read the book. We love an audiobook. But that's just going to be through Patreon, which is another bonus. So if you want to join a book club and read books that are in the genre of dating detectives, then come to Patreon and read with me.
And your support means so much to us. So thank you so much for everybody who comes up off their $5 a month to support us. It just means the world. We just can't. I can't believe people pay money because they love us.
No, literally, I cannot.
Cool.
And then when I see everybody talking about the episodes,
I know.
with each other, it just is kind of the best thing ever. I want everybody to become best friends.
And we really appreciate when you guys share on your social media. Holy crap. The number of people that have said, oh my gosh, my friend posted about your thing and I listened to this person's story and that totally happened to me and I thought I was the only one. And you just never realize how sharing another person's story will impact someone else. It's kind of really cool.
Shout out to our guest. So her name is Alexis. Real quick, thank you, Alexis, for coming on. And also she heard about our podcast through Nobody Should Believe Me, Andrea Dunlop's podcast, which we were guests on, which is so cool. So if you don't know about that podcast, you should go listen. And she just was like, oh my God, I've listened to everything and need to tell you about what happened to me. And that is the most special thing ever for people who actually are part of this community who are like, all right, hold my beer. Let's go.
Yep. And hold my mascara.
Hold my mascara. I'm obsessed with that. That's literally perfect. And I'm going to use it.
Real quick, you guys. Also, there are some things that happen in this story that are illegal. We do not condone them. We do not hashtag do not try this at home. This is not something that we condone or support. We never support breaking the law. Laws are there for a reason. They're very important. So we just
on the record, don't condone.
Yes, do not condone.
Also on the record, we love Alexis.
So just a little disclaimer, just letting you know we do not condone this behavior. So we're ready for you guys to meet Alexis. Shall we hear her story?
Let's take it away.
Let's do it. Okay, let's get into it. All right, Alexis, take us away. Tell us your story.
Okay. So my story starts a long time ago when I was 22. I had just finished nursing school. So excited to be a nurse. I got my first nursing job. And one of the first days on the job, I worked with a guy who was so cute. And I was like, I was like, well, who's that? And they were like, oh, he's super shy. That's Dan. He doesn't talk to a lot of people. And I was, intrigued by him. We didn't really talk the first time I ever worked with him. He didn't work there full time. He worked there part time. So I didn't see him for a week. Then I saw him again. We worked together and I worked the evening shift. So after 7 o'clock, the patients were in bed. So it was downtime there and we talked the entire night and we really connected. And I was like, I like him so much. Oh my God. I had a serious boyfriend at the time too, which I told him in conversation. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, I'm single. And we had such a good conversation. Then I worked with him another time. We talked the entire night and I gave him my phone number.
Is he also a nurse?
He's also a nurse. He was also a nurse. So we had that in common. So he called me that night as soon as I got home from work. And I was like, hey, I didn't expect you to call me tonight. I just gave you my number. We talked on the phone the entire night, like the sun came up. We had so much to talk about. After I hung up the phone, I was like, I'm dumping my serious boyfriend of 3 years tomorrow. I'm obsessed with this guy. He's amazing. I'm telling my friends.
Wait, and how long? How long had?
Like a week. Like I worked with him 3 times over a week. I've never even hung out with him outside of work.
Listen, when you know, you know.
When you know, you know.
I felt that way.
Especially if it was like a college boyfriend before and like nursing school boyfriend.
It was a college boyfriend. So it was my college boyfriend. Like a super nice guy, but we weren't a good match at all. And I felt bad to dump him because he was a really nice guy, but he just wasn't right for me. So I told my friend who worked there also, she was also a nurse there. So I was like, you know who I really like at work? Dan. And I was like, I'm actually going to break up with my boyfriend for Dan. Like we hit it off. Like we have so much in common. We have a good crazy connection. And she was like, you're telling me a joke. You must be kidding. Because she had worked with him for a while before I started working there. She was like, he's so strange. He's so quiet. Like I can never picture you with him.
Okay.
And I was like, you don't know him. Like he's very soft spoken and he's a little bit introverted and I'm the opposite, but we got along great. So she was like, okay, good luck to you.
Opposites attract.
He was totally opposite. Then I started to find out a little bit about Dan. Dan grew up in Africa. He came to the US when he was in 9th grade. He was like 14 years old. The country he's from speaks English. So English was his first language, but he had a heavy accent. He was like made fun of in school. He worked really hard to ditch the accent. Had a very different high school experience than I did. And then after high school had gone to nursing school and he was an RN. So we had very different upbringings, very different lives. But one thing we did have in common was that we had weird family dynamics. I'm not close to my parents. I didn't come from like a warm, loving family. And he didn't even really meet his parents until he was 14 because he mostly lived in boarding schools. His parents came to the United States when he was 5.
Okay.
And they left him back.
They left him behind?
Him and the siblings. And there was a younger brother who will come into this whole story, but he had to be like 2 or 3 when the parents left, like a baby. But that is very typical that they will leave the kids with a relative, come to America to establish a life and bring the kids over at a later time. But because of the cost of visiting from the United States to Africa, he didn't see his parents for like 10 years. So he never had a close bond with them. I know it's so strange, but if you talk to anyone else from that country, they'll be like, oh yeah.
No, it makes sense.
Any of those countries, it's common.
Wow.
And probably for the first 5 years that I knew him, he told me very little about growing up in Africa. He's like, one day I'll take you there and you can see it. But I didn't have a great childhood. It was really hard. And he would say like little things here and there. He's like, I lived in a boarding school. We just didn't have enough food. I was always hungry. I never saw my parents. I didn't want to press him. It was like, but I felt so bad for him. I'm like, oh my God, like, let me love him. I'm a caretaker. I want to take care of this man. He's amazing. And one thing I will say about him, super ambitious. He's like, this was his second job that I met him at. He worked there part-time. He had another full-time job. He's like, I love to work. I want to make a lot of money. I have big dreams. I want to go back to school. I want to be a nurse practitioner. I want a big house in the suburbs. I want the American dream, beautiful wife, family. That's my goals. That's what I want. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I want. I want a house in the suburbs. I want to be a wife and a mom. That's all I want. We want the same things. And I was like, I work hard. We're a perfect match. So we start dating. It's like, so I can't say he love bombed me. I know everyone like starts their stories like that. To this day, he wasn't super over the top. I think he never had a serious girlfriend. He was 25 when I met him. I was 22.
Okay.
We're 3 years apart. He was like, I never dated a girl like you before. I never had a serious girlfriend. Like, this is so nice. You're such a good match for me. It wasn't that over the top. We didn't even hang out every single day. So I met him in October. November, December, January, we took a big trip. We went to Miami for the long weekends. We came back
Oh,
from
okay.
Miami, and he said, you can't meet my parents because in my culture, if you're bringing a girl to meet your parents, you're telling your parents, this is the girl you're going to marry. And I was like, oh, okay. But then shortly after that Miami trip, he's like, I want you to meet my parents. This is a serious relationship. I really feel like I want to meet them. He's like, you have to come to church with me on Sunday. You have to meet them in church. It was an African church. I'm super white. I stuck out so much. And he made me sit in church with him the whole Sunday. And then I met the parents and they were ice cold to me. And I was like, well, nice to meet you. And then we left. And then he called me later and said, my parents are very upset with who I'm dating. I knew that was going to happen, but I tried. And they're throwing me out of the house if we're going to continue dating. So I was like,
What?
Throwing him out of the house. I mean, my mom's passive aggressive when he's not Jewish, but that's the extent of it.
so I'm also Jewish. But my parents didn't care.
I wasn't sure.
Close. I'm not super close to my parents, but I mean, I lived with them at that time, and I was like, my mom was like, is he Jewish? I'm like, no, not even close. So then he came to the house. He's like, he's black. I was like, yes. She was like, well, I mean, does he have a good credit score? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, that's what matters.
Aw, good for her.
They were like, okay with it.
I mean, good.
She was like, credit score over 700. He's fine. He also drove a brand new Mercedes.
Okay.
It was like so nice. I was 22. So I was like, wow, that's a sign of success.
Yeah. And parents just want stability.
Right.
When we get to the end of this story, there is something that our dogfish says to Alexis that makes me so mad. So it'll make more sense when we get to the end. But it's about basically shaming her for some sex fantasy ideas. And I do our little ad for Dipsy. We've done it before. You've probably heard me talk about it. But I just really am passionate about what Dipsy does because of how many people don't feel confident or comfortable exploring their sexuality, which I do think translates into your confidence and comfortability with yourself and your just desires across the board. Dipsy is a female-founded app for spicy audiobooks and more, created by women for women. And their app has over 1,000 spicy audiobooks, all crafted by a team of professional writers and top tier narrators. And you might think it would be a little cheesy to hear an audio spicy thing, but they're really good, guys. And a lot of the accents are debilitating. But no matter what you're looking for, that's my favorite thing about this app. It gives you a real chance to explore your fantasies or learn just about your desires, whether you're alone or with a partner. And I do want everyone to have that opportunity to shamelessly do that. Let's talk about the fun stuff. Some of the romance genres we've got: contemporary, historical, dark, sports, Western, romantasy. That's a new one for me. Sapphic, less new for me. I love all of these, but there's also new chapters released every week. So you'll always find something new to enjoy. And I also love that they have wellness parts of the app too, where you could do like guided breathing things, guided self-touch. You can do some learning stuff about sexuality or wellness. They have questions you can go through with a partner. There's just so much. So for listeners of the show, Dipsy is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipsystories.com/TDD. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to DIPSEA stories.com/TDD, dipsystories.com/TDD. We'll put all this info in the show notes. And if you like it, you should tell me which ones you like because it's fun. Okay. It's really fun. Okay, PSA for anyone who rents where they live, like me. If you have not heard of Built, you're about to thank me. You can earn points on rent, and it's a reality now. When you pay your rent through Built, you don't even have to check with your landlord to start earning points that you could use toward flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, even your next rent payment. Let me break it down for you. There's no cost to join Built. I am a member. As a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. Built points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world where you can redeem your Built points. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Built members can access. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Why not? Honestly, it's so helpful. And they have so many good points connected to local restaurants and places in my area that are really fun. And then also obviously all the travel stuff. So start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/TDD. That's joinbilt.com/TDD. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/TDD to start earning points on your rent payments today.
So he was like, I'm going to get an apartment. Would you like to move into it with me? We've been together for like 6 months at this point. And I was like, okay.
That's decent.
Yeah, I'll move into an apartment with you.
I mean, especially if he just got thrown out of his parents' house.
They gave him like a week to leave. I don't know. But I went with him to get the apartment. We got it. We moved in. It all was really quick. Then we were living in the apartment. And then like 2 months after we were living there, we went to Aruba on vacation. And while we were in Aruba, he was like, now we're sharing some bills because we're living in this apartment. And my parents are still giving me so much pressure because now we're living together and we're not married and they're super religious. And I just,
Oh, yeah.
could we just get married?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I want to get married like so bad. I really did. But I was like, I really don't, we haven't been together like a long time at all. What will my friends say if I tell them I'm marrying my boyfriend of 7 months at the time? He's like, it doesn't matter what anyone says. You don't even have to tell anybody. I just want to be able to tell my parents that we got married. And he talked me into it over the vacation. Plus, we were like in paradise. So we were in Aruba. And I just started to really think about it and think like, he's so stable. Maybe this is a really good choice for me. This guy and I are going to have an amazing life. We already have good careers as it is. And I think this is a great idea. And we got back from Aruba. We went to town hall. We got the marriage license. We picked a date. I did tell my parents. I said, I'm going to get married to him. And they said, please don't tell us anything else. We are not in agreement with this. So we get married. Everything's great. The first year of marriage was incredible. We were so happy. We did a lot of traveling. We had like low rent on that apartment. We had great careers. We were making good money. Everything was wonderful. And then I got pregnant. And I was freaking out and I was like, oh my God, I'm 24 now. I'm 24. I'm pregnant. We've been together for like 2 years almost.
Did you feel like you were did you feel like you were too young for that?
Yes. So I was like, I can't have a baby this young. Like, what are we going to do? We don't have any help. My parents are going to be so mad. And he was like, you can do whatever you want. I don't care either way. He wasn't like so excited, but he was like, if you want to have a baby, have a baby. If you don't want to have it, don't have it. So I was back and forth. And then we decided to have the baby. And I told my parents when I was like 6 months pregnant, I was like, I have some news.
6 months? Oh God.
I was like sucking in my stomach. Actually, my mom accused me I was like, I have something to tell you. She said, I already know what it is. And I said, what? She's like, you got a boob job. And I was like, nope.
Oh my God. You were like, no, but thank you.
Shut up. She thought you had a boob job.
Thank you.
They're looking
This
good.
is milk.
This is milk. I also love the idea of you like sitting down your parents to be like, guys, I got a boob job. Like, what if you told them in the same way that you tell them that they're going to be grandparents?
She was like, I don't like plastic surgery. I don't like it. I don't like it. But I was like, it's not that. It's something else. So then I told her, she said to me, I just want to let you know that you just ruined your life. Now you will never be able to get rid of this guy. He is going to know you until this baby is 18 years old at a minimum. And I was like, all right, thank you.
Yeah, how did you feel? Like, what went through your head?
I didn't expect her to be thrilled about it, but that was like, oh, okay. So we left their house. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. You know how your mom is. It's going to be fine. Once they see the baby, it'll be fine. So he used to go out with friends sometimes, but not often. He didn't have any close friends. His brother was super popular and had a million friends. So he would go out with the younger brother, 5 years younger. The brother worked in law enforcement. So he would have a lot of friends from law enforcement, and the brother's like a social butterfly. So he would go out with his brother occasionally. So while I was still pregnant, he went out one night with his brother. I actually dropped him off at the place they went out. I didn't want to go because I was pregnant. I wasn't really invited, but neither here nor there. I even dropped him off because I was like, if you guys are going to be drinking, I don't want you to take your car. I'll even pick you up. Call me later. I went home and I get a call like 1 o'clock in the morning from my high school boyfriend, not the boyfriend I dumped for him, my boyfriend from high school from like 10 years before.
What?
But we still were in touch via like social media. I haven't talked to him on the phone in like at least 5 or 6 years. I almost didn't answer it. I was like, hello. And it's so loud in the background. He's like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm home in my house. He's like, so random. I'm out at, he said the place. And he's like, your husband is here. And I'm like, oh my God, I know. I dropped him off. He's like, yeah, he's here with a girl. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, he's here with a girl. She's sitting on his lap. They're making out. And I'm so sorry to tell you, but I'm letting you know.
What a homie.
I was like, it's not him. He's like, I know what he looks like. He's all over your social media. It's definitely him.
Oh my God. You're like, he's got a doppelganger.
And I was like, it's the brother. Like, he's like, no, his brother's here too, but it's him. And I was like, honestly, I'm pregnant. I was like, this is so cruel of you to do. I immediately turned on him. I was like, please don't contact me again.
Wow.
I can't believe that you would do this to me. And I hung up on him and I didn't speak to him again for many years. When my husband came home later, I was like, you're not going to believe what happened. And he was like, what? I tell him the story. He's like, that is so awful. Some people could be so jealous of other people's happiness. And I was like, yeah, right. He's like, just so you know, I love you so much. I am so faithful to you, and a whole speech. And I was like, oh, I don't even believe that for a minute. I don't even question it. You don't even have to justify it to me. I'm hook, line, and sinker. I believe anything you say. So he said, okay. So that happened. Then I have the baby. Things are good with the baby. He's, a good enough dad. He went right back to work. So I was home with the baby for a few months. When the baby was 6 months old, we start house hunting for our first house. And we end up buying this adorable house. It's like my dream come true. It's so cute. Front porch, 3 bedrooms. So beautiful. I was 25. We bought our first house. Such a nice area, I thought. As soon as we bought the house, he says to me, this is not our forever home. Just so you know, this is a starter home to me. I want to live in that neighborhood, which was like on the other side of the same town. And that neighborhood looked like Stepford Wives. And he's like, I want to live there. And I was like, okay. He said, that's my dream. That's my goal. I don't care how hard I have to work. I am going there. So, okay. And then took a managerial position in a hospital. And he worked 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., but they weren't exact hours because he was salaried. So if he had meetings and emergencies and things, he would stay later. I was working evenings. So we had opposite shifts and I was hardly seeing him. My mom would watch the baby for like an hour in between. So he was home every evening all by himself until like sometimes midnight till I got home from work. And I was home every day, all day by myself with the baby. So we weren't seeing each other a lot, but it was for the baby. And he seemed to really like his new job. Things are going okay. He's always having to stay late for meetings. And at some point, my mom's like, he's picking up the baby later and later. I don't know what goes on at that job, but they take advantage of him. They keep him so late. He doesn't even get paid for it. I'm like, I know. He works too hard. I feel bad. So he's working these long hours. And one night I get home from work. It's midnight. He's definitely asleep in the bed. And his phone was laying on our bedroom floor charging face up. I never knew the password to his phone. He never gave it to me, but I never really asked. He also was not on the same phone plan as me. We had separate phone plans when we married. And then I talked about, let's get them together. And he's like, I get a huge discount from my brother's law enforcement job. We're on a phone plan together and I can't add anyone else because it's his plan. I have to stay on that plan. I cannot be on the same phone plan as you. He was like adamant about this. And I was like, okay. On the front of the phone is a text. It's a girl's name and it said, had a great evening with you. Have a great day tomorrow. Love. And then the girl's name.
Love.
Love you. It said like, love you. Love you. It wasn't I love you, but it said like, love you. And I was like,
oh my God.
What?
How old is the baby at this time?
Under a year. I wake him up. I was like, wake up. I was like, what is this?
Does your stomach fall into your butt?
It was the worst feeling. I felt like someone lit my body on fire. And I was like, this is going to be so bad. So he's like, oh, he was so calm. He's like, oh, that? He's like, this girl's so inappropriate. And I was like, what? He's like, this is the girl that I work with. She's at the job. She sits at the desk with me during the day. He's like, she's really like a secretary. I have to sit next to her all day. She got my phone number from the snow chain. There's like a chain you call down management. There's a snow emergency and people can't get into work. He's like, she took my phone number off the snow chain. I never even gave it to her. And she's always texting me. And I asked her to stop, but I don't want to make work uncomfortable by making a big deal of it. He's like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, unlock your phone. I want to read the conversation.
I was going to
before
say,
this.
let's see that conversation then.
He was like, no.
Mhm.
He's like, are you saying you don't trust me? And I was like,
Yes.
no, I don't.
Yes,
You?
that's
And
exactly
he was
what
like,
we're
I
saying.
am not unlocking this phone. I'm not unlocking this phone. I refuse to do it. And I was like, okay. A few days later, though, he throws his phone on the kitchen table and tells me, this is the passcode. Feel free to go through it.
Oh, great.
A few days later.
later.
Honey. What the okay.
Which, of course, it was like, there was nothing in it. After that, he starts to be more open with his phone. But I tell my best friends, I'm like, girls, this is what happened. What do you think? They're like, he's lying. He's cheating. You need to find out. So I was like, how? How am I going to find out? They were like, he's doing it in the evenings when you're not home, obviously. But I'm like, the baby is there. They're like, you need to bug the whole house. So I was like, okay, let's
Did you do it?
that.
Did you do it? Oh my God.
Bug the house. Yeah, I did it.
Is that allowed?
She said, oh yeah, I did it.
Is that allowed?
Yeah. Yeah, that's allowed. She lives there. It's her home.
Okay, great.
I bought a tape recorder at Staples,
She
like
said
one
I
of
went
those
to
like lecture
Staples.
hall like you use in college. It was like
Yeah.
12 hours of recording. I put it underneath our couch. I started it. I left for work. I dropped the baby off at my mom's. I was at work. All my best girl coworkers, I'm like, I did it. It's under the couch. Tonight's the night. They're like, oh my God. We're barely getting to the shift. The shift ends. They're like, go home. I race
my
home.
God.
I go in the house. He's asleep. I get the recorder. I go back to my car and I'm shaking uncontrollably and I'm playing back the tape recorder. And I felt like my ears are deceiving me because I start hearing a girl's voice and I'm like, is she on
What'd she say? What'd she say?
speakerphone? Like, they're just talking about work at first, but she was in my house. She's not on speakerphone. She's in my house. She's sitting on the couch that the recorder is under. I was like, he has her in our house with and the baby's there too.
Disgusting.
And they're like eating dinner together. The baby's there. It really didn't record anything juicy. They're like flirting a little bit, but there's no sex or anything in the tape. And I only recorded that one room and they left the room at some point and I don't have any more audio. You couldn't hear.
Yeah, but
So I
that's
was like,
enough evidence. I mean, all you need to know is that he's not telling you that this woman is
has
in
a girl
his
in
house.
the house while I go to work.
Yeah,
This is
that's
insane.
enough. That's enough.
And
Yeah.
it's the same girl from the text message because he says her name in the tape. So I go into bed, I laid down next to him, and then I sat up and he woke up and I called his job and I told his job he's not going to be into work tomorrow. He's had an emergency. Take him off the schedule. So the job was like, oh, okay.
She said, I'm calling him in dead.
Oh my God.
It's important that I was in his car. I went in his car because then I searched his whole car while I was there. I was like, what's in this fucking car?
Yeah.
I want to know anything and everything. So
Did you find her panties? What'd you find? Oh my God.
I found an American Eagle women's jacket, size small in the back seat, which wasn't mine. And it had like dog hair inside of it. Like the person had a dog. And then I found in his glasses case, there was a little note that said, I brought us lunch. But he saved it in his glasses case. And there was a flip phone that they had been texting in.
What?
And she had sent him like the name of a song. He sent her a dick pic.
Oh.
There wasn't that much text in there, but enough.
Oh, that's all you need.
There was a couple other numbers saved too that didn't have names. I don't know who they were. I never did really find out. So I woke him up in the middle of the night and I said, I just had the worst nightmare. And he said, what nightmare? I said, I had a nightmare that every time I go to work, you have a girl over here and you cheat on me in my own house. He already knew that I knew something. So he said to me, what did you do? What did you do? And I said, I have the whole house on video. He said, video? What rooms are on video? He's looking around for a camera in our bedroom. And I was like, the bedroom and the living room. And he said, tell me what you saw in the videos. I was like, you were here, so you know what I saw. So I know. He's like, so you know that I'm not sleeping with anybody else but you. And I wanted to call his bluff and be like, I saw you guys having sex.
He was calling your bluff.
Yeah, he was. Or he wanted to see what you knew before he admitted to anything.
What I knew. And he's like, so did you get it on video when I told you to leave this house, that this has to stop, and I love my wife, I don't want her coming here anymore? I was like, no, I didn't get that on video. He's like, well, that's what happened. Tonight was the first night she's ever been here, and I'm so sorry for it, but things got out of hand. She came over. This was the only time she's ever been to our house. And I told her this has got to stop. I can't continue on. I love my wife and my child. And he was lying. And I was like, I don't believe anything you're saying. Like, you got to go. So we fought through the entire night. The sun came up. He left the house. I don't know where he went. Oh, I told him I found the flip phone too. I threw that at him. I was like, and here's your dick pic phone.
Yo, what does he have to say about that? How does he deny that?
I don't even remember what he said about that, but there wasn't much he could say. He came back at some point in the afternoon. He's like, I want to restart our whole marriage. Let's restart the whole marriage. He said, I want to go down to the ocean. I want to throw this phone in the ocean. I want to restart. I love you so much. I would do anything for you. I would do anything you want me to do. I'm going to do it. And I was like, if we get divorced right now, I can't afford this house. I'm going to have to live with my parents. I have this baby. At this point, I had told my best friends what happened. They were like, you have to go to a lawyer like tomorrow. You have to divorce him. He's disgusting.
Do your parents, are they still supportive of you?
They were supportive enough. Like, they would have taken me in, but I definitely didn't want to go there. Again, my parents are always like, that guy's an idiot. That's not going to work out. That's marrying him was the worst
They'd be
idea.
like, I told you so.
My mom's like, I told you ruined your whole life. What did I say? I'm always right. So I was like, I can't even face them over this. So I end up throughout the whole day of him crying on his hands and knees, I decide I'm going to forgive him. He said we can start marriage counseling immediately. He gave me the keys to his Mercedes. I drove a Jetta. He's like, I will take the Jetta. You can have that Mercedes. I don't need a flashy car. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm a family man. He's like, I want us to start going to church on Sundays. We're not even religious, but
he's just grasping at straws.
He's
like, here, have a Mercedes.
Have a Mercedes.
So we went to marriage counseling like pretty quickly after that. He threw the phone in the ocean. He did a whole dramatic display. And the marriage counselor was so great. I really liked her. And he seemed to like going. And in marriage counseling, he starts to disclose a little bit more about his childhood. And he says like how bad it really was, a lot of abuse. And he's so grateful to have someone that finally loves him and he can trust them. And I felt really bad from a marriage counseling. Sidebar, at one point I was alone in the room with her and she told me, I just want to tell you that you make your own decisions, but he has a lot of tendencies of a narcissist. And the more I found out about his childhood, children who grew up so traumatically without any love from anybody, they are the people who tend to become narcissists because they have an unhealthy relationship with love and they are just trying to get it from everywhere as much as they can. And she's like, this behavior with him is going to continue. He's going to try to get love and attention from other people outside of the marriage as much as possible forever, unless he does deep therapy one-on-one with somebody. This marriage counseling is not going to be enough. But she said, if you accept this behavior that he does and you want to look the other way, then, that's your decision. And I felt like,
oh my God,
she's an idiot. She doesn't know him. He's the best. He's a great man. He made a bad mistake. Everybody makes a mistake. And also, he continually tells me he never slept with her. He maintains it till he's blue in the face.
He's still
like,
saying that?
To this day, to this very day, my child is a teenager now. To this day, if you asked him like with a gun to his head, he'd be like, I never had sex with that girl. Ever. He's Bill Clinton. He never had sexual relations with that woman.
Ever. Yeah, no, literally.
That woman. And he changed his job too. He immediately applied for a different position in the hospital, so he didn't work with her anymore. That was part of his deal with me.
Have you or someone you know been the victim of identity theft or harassed or stalked? Let's talk about why your privacy matters. So as a private investigator, I know how easy these things can happen because I happen to know what's out there on the worldwide interweb for anybody to find. So data brokers make a profit off your data. So your data is a hot commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to the identity theft and the phishing attempts, harassment, unwanted spam calls, all of that stuff. And like I said, as a private investigator, anybody can just go on the internet and find your information pretty easily. So as a person who exists publicly and a PI, I am hyper aware of safety and security, and it's easier than ever to find personal information about people online. All this data hanging out all willy-nilly on the internet can have actual consequences in the real world. That's why I personally recommend Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. So basically what you do is you sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. They send you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. And it's not just a one-time service. So it's always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information that you don't want on the internet. And so basically, they just do all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from the data broker websites so that your information isn't as easily obtained. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you join deleteme.com/TDD and use promo code TDD at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/TDD and enter code TDD at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/TDD, code TDD. Thank you, Delete Me, for sponsoring the Dating Detectives podcast. The Let's Read podcast features a wide array of horror stories ranging from true crime and paranormal encounters to creepy personal experiences, making it a must-listen for fans of the genre. Many of the stories are submitted by listeners, providing a diverse and authentic range of terrifying tales that resonate with a broad audience. Hosted by Joel, whose storytelling prowess creates an immersive and chilling listening experience, perfect for fans who love to be on the edge of their seats. Dive into a rich archive of episodes with spine-tingling stories that include everything from haunted houses and ghost sightings to unsettling true crime cases and creepy encounters. Join a vibrant community of horror enthusiasts who engage with the podcast, sharing their own stories and experiences, making it an interactive and dynamic show. Stay tuned for special episodes and themed story collections that explore new and exciting facets of horror storytelling. Search for Let's Read on your favorite podcast platform and remember to hit follow so you never miss an episode.
So I forgive him and we get back together. We never really were apart and we go on with our lives. And then fast forward,
Because it looks like he's doing the work.
He seemed to be doing the work. He did. He went to marriage counseling with me for a full year, kind of trickled out. We stopped going. And I didn't want to see him as that kind of guy that does that stuff.
That's a great way to put that. By the way, a lot of people have shared it that way too.
I wanted to believe that he was who I married, who I wanted him to be. And he sometimes was that guy. He could be a great guy. And the dynamic of our relationship became that as long as I didn't ask him about where he was and what he was doing and be obsessive about his phone, things were great. And if I asked him any questions that were on like a do not ask list, it was a lot of problems for me. He would ice me. He would leave the house. He wouldn't come back for the whole night and not tell me where he went.
A do not ask list.
He'd be like, you can't ask me about what I'm doing all the time. That's not fair. I said I'm sorry for the one event and I've never done it again. And you have to just trust me.
No.
You can't be constantly interrogating me about where I am and what I do.
I want to hear from like a professional if that's like is that like an appropriate standard or an appropriate expectation? I want to know.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, I'm sure I've heard many times people doing the thing where they're like, am I going to be paying for this one mistake forever?
The marriage counselor did say in marriage counseling, if you choose to forgive him, you really have to choose to forgive him. You can't throw the affair in his face for the rest of your marriage.
I get that.
But that doesn't mean you can't ask for reassurance.
So she did say that too. She's like, and you have to be totally transparent with her going forward so that she feels comfortable that you can re-earn her trust.
Yeah,
and he's like, I am. I deleted my social media. I threw my phone in the ocean. I'm transparent. It's out there. So after that happened, some other things that had happened earlier in the marriage, I did look at a little bit differently too. At one point, he had told me about someone at his job that was having an affair and had gotten the girl pregnant. And he's like, yeah, the guy's so stressed out. He's trying to convince the girl not to have the baby so his wife doesn't find out. It was like a crazy story. And I was like, was that about him? Like, was that about him? I always felt like I had a million little pieces of puzzle, but I could never make a puzzle because I never really caught him doing anything at this point. And I couldn't throw my life away for like gossip, rumors. I heard from this person who heard from that person that he did something. So we end up having another baby. We have 2 babies now. I have a girl and a boy. It's really cute. Things are going well because I don't want to see what he's doing. Years go by. Nothing crazy happens for a lot of years because I just stop investigating him. He goes to work. He doesn't always come home. I don't know what he does. I don't ask a lot of questions about it because I don't want to be iced and treated like shit for 3 days.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
I just kind of make peace with my life. And people were like, that sounds horrible, but it wasn't, because I loved being a mom. The kids were amazing. I was working as a nurse. I had a great job. I was so happy. I work with a great team of nurses. I have a lot of best friends. I spent a lot of time with them, and my life was really good. I was really happy. When my second child was like 5 years old, I told him that I want to have another baby. I love being a mom. That's all I want. And he's like, I want to go back to school to become a nurse practitioner. So I said, you could do that, and I want to have another baby. So that's what we start working on. I get pregnant with the third baby. He's in school to be a nurse practitioner. He's about to graduate toward the end of my pregnancy. He tells me toward the end of my pregnancy that he has to do a clinical rotation. It has to be in Texas, and we live in New York. He's like, I got to go to Texas for a month. I'm going to be staying in an Airbnb. I was like, okay, like that's great. I'm going to leave me here 7 months pregnant while you go to Texas. And he's like, it's fine. I'm going to talk to you every day. He leaves me 7 months pregnant with the two kids. Also, my mom's helping me, and he goes to Texas. And the time he's in Texas, he really was in Texas. What he was doing there, I don't know, because I couldn't get in touch with him sometimes for days at a time.
That's horrible.
Yep. He'd be like, I'm so busy. I'm so sorry. Texas has terrible self-service. They're known for that. And I mean, it was always like a story, and it was like a quick story and a good story. It was really good at it.
People from Texas, let us know if you're known for bad cell service.
We need to know about y'all Texans.
I have not heard that. Let's just say.
Where that part of Texas, maybe not all, but that very part of Texas.
Of course. Actually, only the spots that he's in is known for bad service. I think.
That part. But I booked the Airbnb that he stayed in. So I had the Airbnb lady that owned the house. And at some point I called her and I was like, hey, I have not been able to get in contact with my husband all weekend. I'm very concerned. So she tells me, oh, he left the Airbnb for the weekend with his brother who's visiting from New York. And they're staying in like the major city of Texas. I'm not going to say the city because I don't even remember what city it was, but a major city in Texas. And I was like, really? Interesting. He didn't answer his phone all weekend. He calls me like late midnight on Sunday. Like, hey, I've been so busy. I was like, no, just stop, because I spoke to the owner of the Airbnb and she told me that your brother is there and you guys have been partying all weekend and staying at a hotel somewhere. He's like, yeah, you knew that.
Oh,
I was like,
God.
I did not know that.
When did you know that?
He acted like he had told me that. I don't know, but he acted like he had told me that and I forgot. And he's like, pregnancy brain, I told you that.
Oh, I hate him.
Pregnancy brain, stop.
He blamed me.
Oh, he's awful.
He gets back from Texas and he tells me we can't have any sex because I'm pregnant, and he's worried about it. It was some weird story. I was like, I haven't seen you in a month. He's like,
no.
We cannot have sex because I just feel like it's not right while you're pregnant. I was like, okay. Something happened in Texas. I'm never going to know what happened. I'm telling all my best friends this again. And they're like, my friends are like, Alexis, wake up. He did something in Texas and he doesn't want you to know about it. He has some kind of disease. And he
yeah, that's exactly where my head went.
But again, I can't prove it.
Girl, the proof is in the femtuition.
But you know what? Like women have to see it. You have to I couldn't throw away my family for like a hunch.
Yep.
That's why people call him Mackenzie.
It's absolutely true.
Well, stay tuned, ladies.
Oh,
because I get there.
Oh no, girl.
So then during this time, he finished school. He graduates. He knows he's going to get a big promotion. He's like, let's buy that dream house over in Pleasantville over there. So I'm like, oh God, it's like going to double our mortgage payments. It's so expensive. He's like, let's do it. We move into the new house. The new baby's an infant. And we have the other two kids. The house is 5 bedrooms, in-ground pool, like a dream house. So gorgeous. Now I live in my dream house. During this time, my first house that I lived in, my next door neighbor, we had become best friends. And then I bought my new house, and my next door neighbor, like 3 doors down, became my other best friend. So those are 2 of my best friends in the world. So now I live in the new house. He's always working, and fast forward, COVID hits. And he starts working crazy erratic hours. He works full time at a hospital near my house, and he takes a COVID contract. So you could do contractual nursing jobs for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months. They were paying them boatloads of money. He's like, this is our chance. We're going to make so much money during COVID. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of worried. Like, I don't want you to get sick. I'm so concerned about him and his health. He says, this is a great opportunity for us, Alexis. We can put a roof on the house. We could do a new kitchen. I got to take all these jobs. So I was like, okay. He also starts a business doing cosmetic injectables like Botox, lip fillers, all those things. So he has that business now, and he has these other 2 jobs, and he takes a 3rd job as an adjunct professor at a university by our house. And he's working like weekends, doing like clinical rotation with nursing students.
So he's never home.
He's never home, and he works nights mostly. So we've gone overnight. So I'd say to him, I can't remember what job you're going to. Can you just write it down on a calendar? I don't know where you are. I can't keep track of it. And he can't ever give me his work schedule. It's just too complicated. He doesn't even practically know. It's so crazy. I can't keep track of where
he doesn't want you. Okay, right.
He's confusing you and tiring you out. Yeah. And were you seeing, like, you were seeing the money? Like, as he worked more, you would see that he was making more money?
So his main hospital job that he had all along before COVID hit, we had a joint checking account. My paychecks went in there. I still worked full time at this. His hospital job that he worked 3 days a week went into that account. And then all his other jobs went to a totally different bank. And he said that's where he had his business account. And he wanted it that way because of his business. His business was the excuse for all of that. And sometimes he would sell money from that bank into our joint checking account for extra things.
So you couldn't keep track of how much money?
No, I had no clue.
You couldn't see if there was like how much money was coming in or not coming in?
If any, I don't even know. And I was telling my best friends, I'm like, he's always gone. I don't even know where he works. And now we got a second cell phone for the injectable business. So we had 2 phones.
Oh, no.
Oh.
He will like call me from different phones. I'm like, I'm so confused. I feel confused all the time. One of my best friends was like, my friend so-and-so, she cheated on her husband, and they ended up getting divorced. But, her affair went on for a long time. You should talk to her. So one night I'm over the house and she's there, and I talked to her. I said, how did you get away with that? She's like, I had 2 different jobs, and I would always confuse him about my schedule, about where I was. And then she said, on my days off work, I would have errands to run, and something would go wrong with the errands. So I'd be gone extra long because there was a mishap.
Wow. Okay.
The color drained from my face because my other
my
friend
face
was like,
right now. I'm like,
doesn't it sound like she wrote a book and he read it? I'm like,
yes.
Yeah. The day after she said that, he was off work, and he's like, I gotta go out. I'm going to the gym, and I'm gonna grab groceries. I was like, okay. He's gone for like 6 hours. He comes back. I'm like, where were you for 6 hours? He's like, I went to the gym by my brother's house because I worked out with him. And he's like, I went to go buy salad materials. He's like, maybe you don't watch the news, but I do. There is an E. coli breakout. There is no romaine lettuce in any stores. I have been to like 6 stores.
I don't like it.
And it was true. There was like an E. coli breakout in the romaine.
Oh my God, just make pasta.
Additionally, my friends were like, he works out so much and he's literally fat. And I was like, I never thought about that. He's like getting in worse shape. He's never looked fit. I don't think he goes to a gym at all.
My God.
I didn't go to the gym. Why is he gaining? Why is he fat?
He has this crazy work schedule. He has 2 phones. Like, this is all shady. Then a couple of other things happened. Something was wrong with his car, and he tells me that, something's wrong with my car because my brother had borrowed it and drove it on the beach, and he caused something in the car to break. And I was like, your brother borrowed your car? He's like, yeah. I was like, you didn't tell me your brother took the car. He's like, I don't have to tell you everything that goes on. And I was like, he just has like a whole like social life that I don't ever know what he's doing. Like, something isn't right.
How long is this going on?
This is all going on over the course of at least a year. One little shady thing after another, but it's just like pieces of shady things, pieces. Then I get something to the house that was like, I'm saying it's a cell phone bill, but it actually wasn't a bill. It was something about his cell phone. I opened it up. It was mail, and it had 2 phone numbers on it. One was the work phone, and one was another phone number that I've never seen. So I brought it over to the neighbor's house, my best friend neighbor, and I was like,
did you call it?
I called it, and it didn't have a voicemail set up. And then I waited when he got home, and I said, what is this other phone number? He's like, oh, my brother has that phone. I was like,
everything is his brother.
Everything is his brother.
What? The brother's like number 1 scapegoat. He's like, because he needs a phone that's undetectable for his job. You know that he does a lot of undercover work. I was like, doesn't the police department provide undercover phones for them? He's like, You don't want the police department to know everything you have to do for your job. And I was like, that sounds illegal. I don't know.
That's like, I'm not sure, but no.
Sounds wrong.
I'm a detective, but I don't want the police department to know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm like, something's shady with the brother. He has a shady phone. For some reason, I do find out his brother does have that phone because I go through his backpack one night while it's the daytime. He used to work nights. He was sleeping during the day in the house. Every now and then when he was sleeping during the day, I would ransack his car and his work bag, never finding anything really. But he had a work iPad. He used to watch movies at night on. And I go to the messages and he had been messaging with that phone. That's how I realized his brother did have it. There wasn't much that was said between them. It was like nonsense conversation, really. But he sent his brother a screenshot.
Probably not scheduling the gym visits.
They were not at the gym.
No. Okay, screenshot.
He sent his brother a screenshot of an NCLEX, which is the boards that nurses take. Every nurse takes it to become a nurse. When you pass your NCLEX, then you're considered like a registered nurse or a licensed practical nurse, whichever one you take. But it said RN NCLEX pass. And it was a screenshot of the test result, and he sent it to his brother. So I was like, whose test result is that? At this point, I'm in my mid-30s. Like, and he's older than me. We don't know anyone that just finished college that took boards. Like, who would that be? So I confront him about it. I said, what is this shit? Whose NCLEX pass result is this? First of all, he's like, did you go through my car again? You went through my backpack? He's like, I'm seriously worried about you. I feel like you're slipping into mental illness.
Oh, no.
Okay.
You're obsessed with this. You want my schedule. You go through my stuff. You never leave me. I have no peace. I work so hard for this family. I have 10 jobs. I come home. All I want to do is get some rest. And you're going through all my stuff. He's like, that is one of my brother's friends just took their boards. He asked me to look up the results and send it to him. I was like, no, you can't look up other people's results.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
It's not public. You can't look up someone's public. It's not public. I know because I'm a nurse. I took an NCLEX. I know.
Does he think you're an
trying
idiot?
to confuse me and saying that he can look it up because he's a professor at a university and he has special abilities to do that.
Oh my God.
So this is another weird thing, but what am I going to make of that? I don't know. Then the semester that he was teaching at school ended. He had 2 clinical groups on Saturdays and Sundays. One group gave him a thank you gift for being their professor, which they always do, like a gift card to Dunkin' Donuts, thank you for the semester. And the other group didn't give him anything. I didn't see anything. So I said, they didn't give you a thank you gift? And he said, no. He's like, that group sucked. I told you that. I couldn't stand them. I was like, oh, okay. Again, telling my best friends. They're like, there's no other group, Alexis. He doesn't have another job. He goes out and does whatever he wants on Sundays and pretends that he's at a fake job. I was like, I don't believe this. This is all happening in rapid succession. I still can't see it. I can't believe it. I don't see it. At this point, I don't know what I need, but this isn't it. It's not enough for me. What I really needed was someone to like Clockwork Orange me, peel my eyes open with a machine and make me watch him have sex with another girl. And I'd be like, okay, yes, I'm ready. But I didn't have that. And I just never really caught him cheating. I'm driving home from work and I see in my car some weird thing plugged into the dashboard. What? So I pull it out. I Google it. It's a tracker. He's tracking my vehicle. I come home. I was like, are you tracking my vehicle? He said, yeah, that's Progressive Snapshot. I know you guys are sponsored by them. He said, yes, it is. And he doesn't want to have another conversation. I called Progressive. Shout out to the lady at Progressive. She's like, no, girl, that is not Progressive Snapshot. No! Progressive Snapshot is blue. It says Progressive in orange letters across it. It says our logo. That is not Progressive Snapshot. She's like, you need to leave that man. He's tracking your vehicle.
Shout out Progressive customer service.
She actually told me like her whole life story. I was on the phone with her for like 30 minutes.
That's beautiful.
She raised 2 boys all by herself. She did it.
Oh my God.
Her husband left her for his secretary. She told me.
Oh, what?
God damn it.
The lady at Progressive, yeah.
God damn it.
She was like, what's his number? I'll get him.
She was like, this isn't right. Why is he tracking you? So then I confronted him. I was like, I called Progressive. He's like, it's an independent tracker. I'm going to submit the results to Progressive. I was like, no, stop. Just please stop. You're embarrassing yourself now. So one of my best friends works in the same hospital as him, the local hospital to our house. But she is in the OR, and the OR nurses clock into the OR. They stay in the OR. It's a sterile, clean unit. They give you your clothes at work. You change out of your clothes at work. They eat there. They go back to their cars at the end of their shift. OR nurses don't always know other nurses in the hospital. But I was like, I need you to find out intel on him in that hospital. Like, you need to ask around about him. She's like, I never leave the OR. I'm like, you've got friends. Like, I need you to ask around. So she does. And she gets back to me right away. She's like, I really only like a couple of friends, but one of them is a nurse manager up on whatever floor. And she actually mentioned to me that she just saw him the other day go in the break room with a nurse. And it was a really weird exchange. And she said the nurse's name. So now she's like, it's that girl, Polly. Does that name sound familiar to you? And I was like, I don't know who that is. She's like, me either. So we Google her. We're like, let's see who she is. She has a Facebook that she hasn't been active on since like high school. And then she has an Instagram that's private. I have no mutual friends with her. So I'm like, damn it. So my best friend looks, she's like, I have a mutual friend. She's like, this guy is a chef at my brother's job. I hardly know him, but I'm gonna get in contact with him.
We're gonna ask him.
She like calls her brother, gets his phone number, calls him. She's like, so random. Could you please, we'll do anything, please screenshot this random girl's Instagram and send it to us. And the guy does it. He does it almost right away. She's like, I got her Instagram. So it's nothing. It's like new bag. Like there's nothing crazy. I'm looking at the pictures and then I literally almost threw up because I see the most recent post, and she hardly posts, is the fucking NCLEX pass results.
The same ones that he sent his brother.
And I was like, it's her. This is the girl. There's something with this girl. Like I've seen this picture before. I have seen this picture. And so like finally passed my board. Now I'm
bingo, got him.
Polly.
So my best friend's like, you do not reach out to her. Do not contact her. We need to get more intel. And then the last strike. So I'm driving to pick my kids up from work. A lady calls me from my health insurance company and asks me, do I want to switch my prescription medications over to mail delivery? So I said, I don't take any prescription medications, but my husband takes one pill for his blood pressure. So she's like, okay. And she's like, just give me the name of the prescription and the dose and I can switch it over. So I give it to her and she's like, does he take any other medications? And I was like, I don't think so. I was kind of laughing. She's like, you don't know what other medications he takes? And I was like, he doesn't take any others. She's like, okay, well, ask him if he takes any other medications and you can give me a call back.
Oh my God. She's like looking at her screen and watches true crime and knows what to ask.
So I don't actually think she could even see his medications though. I think she just said it. I don't know. He's in the shower. I go through his work bag. He kept his prescription bottle of his blood pressure medication in his work bag. I open it up and it's mixed pills. It's like different pills in there. It's not all the blood pressure pills. It's other pills that are a totally different color. So I Google the number on it and it's Cialis, which is basically Viagra. And we like hardly ever had sex. So I was like, I've never seen this in my life. I don't know where he gets it from. I never knew he took it. I've never known him to have that ever. So I, again, tell my best friends, I'm like, he has Cialis in his bag. They were like, well, I don't know. Could be anything. I'm like, the Viagra was the last straw. I said, I am going to hire a private investigator to follow him. This is what I need. I need a private investigator to tail him. That's what I need.
Did you do it?
So I Google private investigators near me. A bunch come up. One is a woman. So I picked her.
Yes, because of course you did.
I trust the woman the most. She was young. She was awesome. I tell her the whole situation. She's like, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I hate cheating cases. I hate doing surveillance. It's very expensive. It's hit or miss. I can sit on a case for hours and see nothing, or I could get something. And so at this time, I think he's cheating on me in the city because he would go to the city half the week to work at a hospital there.
She's not wrong. But
we lived in the suburbs. So I was like, I don't think he's cheating on me in the suburbs where we live. I think he's cheating on me in the city. She's like, if you wanted me to surveil him in the city, I need 2 people for surveillance in the city because of public transportation. She's like, it's like $1,000 an hour. Like, it's crazy. She's like, I don't recommend it. She's like, here's what I'm going to tell you to do. She's like, who owns his vehicle? I was like, it's in my name. It's actually my vehicle.
Track
She's like,
it.
Perfect. She said, track his vehicle. So I said, no, he's going to see the tracker. He actually tracked me. She's like, no. I'm going to tell you what tracker to get. He's never going to see it. It's a magnet. It goes under the car. And you're going to charge it for a long charge. It lasts for a week. You're going to get the program that goes with it. And you call me back in 1 week and tell me where he drove to. So she's like, you don't need to hire me. Track his car and call me back. I was like, okay. So my one best friend buys the tracker and another best friend activates it and we put it under his car and we're tracking him. And the first couple of days, he doesn't go anywhere. He goes to where he says he's going. And I'm like almost disappointed. I'm like, oh, all this. And he's not even doing anything. Day 3 comes. It's a Thursday. He comes into the kitchen. He's getting ready to leave for work. And he takes one of those Viagra pills right in front of me because he thinks I don't even know and I'm not even paying attention. I watch him take it. He leaves the house 5 o'clock, 2 hours before his shift starts, by the way. I'm like, we go to work early. He's like, I got to go in early. He leaves the house. He goes, I have a group chat with all my best friends. I'm like, guys, it's on. He just left and he took Viagra. Like, it's on. Tonight's our night. So we're all waiting to see. It's not like maps. It's like bings as it's going. So you watch like little red dots popping up as he's driving.
This is so like Criminal Minds.
We're like all watching. He goes to an apartment complex 10 minutes from the house. He parks and he's there all night. At some point, I have my mom come to the house and my best friend and I go in her car to the apartment complex. His car is there. It's the apartment building. So I don't know where he is in this building. And the complex is on the side of the building. It's not in the front. So even if he walked out of the building, I couldn't see which door he came out of because you'd have to be in the woods to see that. And it was the middle of the winter and I'm not going in the woods. And I was like, we got to get out of here. So we just left. So now my blood is boiling. I called the private investigator back. I'm like, listen, I tracked his car like you said. He went to an apartment building overnight and he's cheating on me with someone in an apartment. But I don't know what apartment he went to. So she's like, let me help you out. I can do a quick 5-minute search for you and tell you every address associated with his name. Maybe we could find it like that. So she goes, boop, boop, boop. She's like, is this the apartment complex? I was like, yes, ma'am. She's like, this is an apartment that he gets mail at or has gotten mail at. It's associated with his name. I had the unit number now. She gave it to me. So I go to my neighbor best friend's house and I say like, this is the apartment. This is the unit that he was at. We have to find out who lives there.
Did you go in gun to blazing? What happened?
So she Googles the address of the unit and sees the listing for when it went up to be when it was up to be rented, when it was still empty. And this apartment was leased 8 months ago. So I was like, whose apartment do you think it was 8 months ago? She's like, I don't know, but the real estate company, my sister-in-law works for them. I'm going to call her right now. We call the sister-in-law and she's able to pull up the lease agreement on her computer. And she's like, it's signed by Dan. It's his apartment. He has a whole apartment.
Oh my God. It pays to know people who know people. Man, that's wild.
My neighbor was like, do you need anything else? I'm like, oh my God, do you think that he's like super depressed and he's been going there alone just to cry? Like there's a mattress on the floor in the middle of the apartment. She's like, no, I don't think that. No. I was like, it could be. It could be.
Oh, you poor thing.
Let's go there. It's the middle of the day. All our kids were in school. We drive over to the apartment complex again.
How far is this from your house?
I'm saying 10 minutes. It's probably less.
Oh, okay. So, oh my God, that's what the PI said.
So close. So we go to the apartment. We're going to knock on the door as the plan. But as we get closer, walking on the sidewalk in front, it's a ground level apartment with a door entry. And there's 2 windows next to the front door. I can see from a distance, there's a Ring doorbell. And I was like, go back. There's a Ring doorbell. I don't want to be on the Ring. And she's like, okay. So we go back. We go back home. I was like, we got to regroup. We got to think about this. The following day, I send my kids to school. I'm pacing my house, walking back and forth, and I'm on the phone with my 3 best friends. I was like, I have to get into that apartment. I have to see inside that apartment because everything in my life depends on what's in there, like what I'm going to do next. Am I going to burn this house down and throw my whole life away? I have to know what he has in there. Every secret in his life is in there.
Yeah. Did you think, so obviously your friends were like, he's cheating, but so you said you thought he could be depressed. Like, what were the stories you were telling yourself to convince yourself that maybe it wasn't cheating?
I told myself that maybe he really is going through so much depression. Like he's seen so many bad things during COVID. He's been in so many major hospitals. And I felt like maybe he just kept all that in. Maybe I haven't been supportive of him enough through that. And he had said that to me. And he's just like, you're so busy with the kids. I really started to kind of feel sad for him in a way. I thought like,
and blame yourself probably.
Maybe he's going through something and I'm so blind to it that I'm so focused on my kids and my job and my life. I haven't even seen it. And he got a separate apartment to have peace from that. I feel sad for him. So I tell the private investigator, I'm going to break into this apartment somehow. She's like, you ever been arrested? I was like, no, I'm a soccer mom. I drive a minivan. I don't even have a speeding ticket. I'm the most vanilla person you're ever going to meet. She's like, well, I'm not a lawyer. I can't give you like legal advice, but it's technically marital property if it belongs to him. And I don't really think anything's going to happen. So I guess it's up to you. She's like, if it was me personally and it was my husband, I'd break in. So I was like, okay, thank you.
Oh,
I
man.
tell my
Okay.
my neighbor best friend, I'm like, I'm going there. I'm gonna break in. So it's the middle of the day, still COVID times. Everyone's masked. I put on my mask. I put on sunglasses. I put on his down jacket.
I was going to
with the
say, are
hood.
you going to wear like a ski mask to get around this
I
ring
didn't even
thing?
have to. I didn't even have to because everybody was dressed like that.
I'm glad you didn't. That's too scary.
Ladies, everybody was walking around like that at this time. Everyone had a mask on. It was the best
Yeah, it was a
time
great
to do
time for
crime.
robbers.
It was the best time to do crime.
Great time for crime.
The best test. And I had been there the day before. So I knew which side of building to approach because I don't want to be caught on the ring camera. There's 2 windows next to the front door. So I approached from the side furthest from the door and I got to the window and I had a little crowbar and I was like, it was a slider window. I had seen it the day before. I'm like, I'll just be able to slide this open with the crowbar, like in every movie. So there was a screen. I'm on the phone with my best friend. I'm like, there's a screen. She's like, take it off.
Hold on. Time out, offsides. Hold on. Too many players on the field. Listen, I just want to make it clear that on the Dating Detectives, we do not condone breaking and entering. And so I just want to put a trigger warning out there. This is not something we condone, but this is part of our guest story. So we're going to let Alexis
And
tell
it's
us
also
about it, okay?
entertainment purposes only. This whole podcast is entertainment purposes
Guys,
only.
I've never done anything illegal in my life, like ever. Only underage drinking. That's it.
Okay. Okay. So now that we've given that disclaimer,
No, we had to cover our bases. Alexis, we are obsessed with you. Back to the crowbar.
So the screen I literally touched the screen. It was so old. It just like fell off, so anticlimactic. And I was like, oh, okay.
You're like, the movies were more fun.
Let me carefully pry this window open. I go to like pry it and the window just like cracked. I'm like, oh, that didn't work. It just cracked. So I'm like, what should I do? The window just like cracked. It was like a slow crack too. I was like watching it travel. She's like, just knock the window out with the crowbar. Come on. I was like, all right.
just use the crowbar.
I just like hit it so many times. All the glass shattered and I just jumped through the window.
Oh
And
my God.
Guys, my whole body's shaking. I'm like shaking uncontrollably. I actually had to hang up the phone with her at some point because I couldn't hold the phone. My hand was shaking so much.
God.
I was like, I'm in the apartment. I land on their bed.
This is Mission Impossible, Alexis edition.
I'm on the bed. I get up. The apartment, first of all, is so nice. It's fully decorated, and some of the decorations are from my house that he's been secretly sneaking out, and I didn't even notice it was missing, like stuff in our basement. There's a painting hanging in the bedroom, and I'm like, that's mine. Okay.
Oh my God.
I'm still on the phone with my best friend right now because I'm like, what should I do? She's like, open the closet. What do you see? I'm like, his clothes. Half of it was his clothes. The other closet was her clothes. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, her clothes. She's like, open the drawers. I'm like, I'm not ransacking anything. I was like totally respectful of this space, whatever it was. I just wanted to see.
Were you respectful of the space?
Of the love nest, my lawyer later called it. So totally respectful of the love nest. I'm like looking in the drawers. I'm like checking her bra size. I'm like, okay. And then I opened the night table. It's full of sex toys, bondage shit, lube, condoms, like anything you can imagine to have sex with, which he never had sex with me like that ever. We had like the most missionary, vanilla, wholesome sex life. Anytime I'd be like, do you want to like spice it up? He'd be like, you're a slut. That's disgusting. Please.
Oh, I hate that. I'm so sorry.
He would be like so horrified. He'd be like, what?
That's traumatizing.
No.
That experience
And then
right there.
I'm seeing like all this shit, like a dildo. I'm like, oh my God, like what? So I actually said to my best friend, I'm like, do you think he's had sex with her? She's like, no. I still couldn't believe it. So then I go in the kitchen. The fridge is full of food. They have a full spice rack. They're cooking that much that he needs every spice. They must have been going there a lot. I continue through the apartment. They have a desk. He has a computer on it, which I didn't touch. And there was a printout of a trip they had taken, a weekend trip. That weekend I had gone away for a travel sports competition from one of my children, and I had all the kids with me. Me and my best friend had gone, and I couldn't get in touch with him that weekend. only like via text. He wouldn't answer his phone for some reason or another. And I remember my best friend saying like that song, like, say my name, say my name. She's like, make him answer the phone and say your name. Where is he? I'm like, he's working. He's working. But he wasn't working. He was on a trip with her. I go into the closet. They had my beach bag that I've been looking for all summer, like one of those big bog bags, because they'd been going to the beach with my beach shit. I was like, I'm taking the beach bag.
So rude.
I couldn't fit it through the window, so I didn't take it. I was like, really? You took my beach bag over here? Like, this is so rude. It is.
And those bog bags are expensive, FYI.
It was a really nice one. It was really nice. I still don't have it back, ladies. He kept it.
Ew.
He had a Bless Our Nest pillow on his couch. Bless Our Nest.
You stop it right now.
It was like the ultimate offense. I'm like, there was like a sex game in the table, like next to the couch. Like they just had sex all over the house. And then by the front door was his and her Yeezy slides. And he had just bought the same Yeezy slides for he and I. They were at our house by our front door, matching set as well. And I was like, okay, I've seen enough here. I'm going to go. I'm going to let myself out the window. I exited the window. I went back to my car.
Did you take any photos?
I took photos of her closet. I took like one other photo, but my hands were shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't even use my phone.
No, for sure. But you got some evidence.
I felt like I was in that. It didn't even matter in the end. I was the one who needed to see it, like nobody else. But I felt like I was in the apartment for like 3 hours. In reality, it was probably like a minute. I really wasn't there long. I drove to my best friend's house. I come inside. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm like, so weird because I feel amazing. I feel like someone just cut a noose off my neck that I have been wearing for 13 years.
because you knew for that long.
And I felt like I was going crazy. I wasn't going crazy. It's a full girlfriend, a full second life at this apartment with this girl. So, of course, being the most empathetic person I am, I'm like, we have to tell the girl that he has a wife and kids. And I really do feel bad about that. So she's like, yeah. So the private investigator, I had actually given her that girl's name and she gave me her phone number in like 1 second. And so I sent her like a very heartfelt text and I was like, I am so sorry to be reaching out to you. My name is Alexis. I'm married to Dan. We have 3 kids. We are fully married, living together. I don't know what you've heard, but he's not single. And I am so sorry. And she wrote back, LOL, what are you talking about? And I was like, she doesn't understand what I said. And my friend's like, yes, she does. She knows about his wife and kids, you idiot. I was like, she's not dogfished. She knows. She's like, she definitely knows. She's like living with him. She has to know, which she did know, which was even more sad for me. I'm like, she knew about me? Like,
what a bitch. Sorry, I shouldn't.
Wait, how long was he with her? Do you know now how long he was with her?
I've spent a lifetime trying to piece the whole timeline together. She had mail there, by the way, when I went in the apartment and I saw her name. So I was like, okay, it's Polly. It's confirmed. Like, there's no question. Someone later sent me a picture of them at a housewarming party that was taken when my baby was first born. And when this all happened, my baby was like 3. So like 3 years they were on and off.
Oh my God.
After this happened, I went to a lawyer the following day. She's like, let's get this going. I'm like, I want a divorce. I want to file for divorce. We were supposed to go to Disney World in like 3 weeks. He comes home from work. I'm standing in the kitchen and I say to him, I canceled the Disney World trip. And he was like, why? Why you cancel the Disney World trip? I'm like, I don't want to go with you. And he's like, why? I'm like, because the whole secret apartment that you have doesn't sit right with me. He was like, what did you do? What did you do? And I was like, I didn't do anything. And then he left, like right then and there. He just left. He went right back out of the house and left. And then he starts texting me, did you break into the apartment? And I said, no. And then he called the police. The police came and asked me about it. And I said, I have literally no idea what apartment he's talking about. I was like, are you telling me that he has an apartment? I'm so confused right now. They were like, yeah. I was like, this is... Then I acted really upset. I'm like, my husband has a secret apartment, you're telling me. And the officer said to me, he said, I learned from the best. He said, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. This is a different issue here than I thought it was. You have a good night, ma'am. When I had come back from that apartment after I broke in and I went to my friend's house, she was like, oh my God, look at you. I had cut my whole leg open with the glass. I never even felt it. I felt amazing. My leg was like bleeding. There was a down jacket. It had shredded. There was feathers everywhere. I probably left a trail of feathers back to my car.
So you left evidence and nobody checked it. They
There
were
was
like,
like
oh.
blood and feathers. He texted me. He's like, they're fingerprinting the whole apartment. I was like, break-in, please. I felt great. I ended up filing for divorce. He denied the apartment for a while. Then he said that I made him get the apartment 8 months ago because I kicked him out, and I'm lying, saying I don't know about it because he used a lot of money to fund that secret life of his, and he was going to be responsible for it in the divorce. And he's like, no, 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 it's not secret. She knew about it.
Oh, I hate oh.
I know. He did cop to it in the end. He's like, yeah, I had a secret apartment. Fine, I did it. And he had to pay for all that. He had a secret credit card, which he had to give me the records of for the last year. And I went to the secret credit card with my lawyer, and then I had my camera roll open to see what I was doing when he was at hotels and restaurants and nightclubs and living a whole secret life. It was just, you could follow his every action on that credit card. I'd be home making Christmas cookies with my kids that Christmas, and he was in a hotel with the girl, and he bought her $600 in jewelry. And they had gone to the liquor store. They had gotten takeout. I could just see like everything that he was doing. My next move was I went on Facebook and deleted all pictures of him and changed my marital status to divorced. And of course, people were like, what happened? And I said, no need to wonder what happened. Dan has been having an affair, but if anybody has any information about other affairs he might have had, my DMs are open.
Oh no, they flooded in.
People started contacting me.
Shut
Some girl contacted me. I didn't know her. She said, I dated Dan's brother a couple years ago, and I'm letting you know that your ex-husband used to come to the house regularly and sleep over with girls. And, the brother said, what goes on at my house stays at my house. Don't you ever tell his wife if you meet her.
Oh my God.
That was one of the calls I received. I then got a DM from a girl. She said, please, don't retaliate against me. I've thought of contacting you for a very long time once I found out about you. I dated him for almost 4 months. I was totally in love with him. He was my boyfriend. And then I found out from other coworkers that he had a wife and kids, and I was mortified and I wanted to die. It's fucked me up so much. I have felt so horrible for so long. It was so sad. I felt so bad for her. She was like a beautiful girl too. And I was
my God.
there's no hard feelings for me. I am so sorry. He is such a bad guy. The time that he dated that girl overlapped with the time he was with the girl in the apartment. So I don't even know how he was doing all of that, but he told her that he was single. He never even mentioned a wife and kids ever. And he had blocked her on my social media. Because then I went into my block list on Facebook and I saw her name and her family and her friends. He had them all blocked so she couldn't find me, which really was like balls because she still probably could have found me. So we got divorced, obviously. To this day, he maintains he's never cheated on me. He has no idea what I'm talking about. He still lives in that same apartment complex with that girl right now to this day.
With Polly?
Polly and him are still together right now. Polly, on the flip side, was engaged when I uncovered the whole thing, which is, I guess, why she wasn't upset about me, because she had her own secret thing going on. Yep. She had an apartment almost across the street with the fiance. So I called him up and let him know. He thought I was lying. He's like, I don't believe any of this. She's amazing. You don't know her. I said, okay.
You're like, I've been there.
I said, this is where they live. You're welcome to look into it. You have my number. He called me back 2 days later. He's like, her car was there. She sleeps over. I'm like, I know. It hurts. I know.
You're like, bless your heart. I tried to tell you.
I know. He was like, this is devastating. You don't understand. We were supposed to get married. I'm like, I have a mortgage and 3 kids. So they definitely understand. I have a lot of problems now.
He should consider himself lucky.
I had to get divorced. I had to sell my house. We lost everything. It was totally... I didn't even care. That's how I felt about it. I was like my dream house. I was so happy to live there. When we were selling it, I didn't care at all. I had to move back in with my parents and live in my parents' living room because they don't even have room for all of us. And I didn't even care. I was like, I'd rather live in a studio apartment with these 3 kids than be in a house with that person. He was so horrible. Once I was out of it, I could see everything for what it was. I'm like, he probably cheated on me 100 times. I'm just lucky I don't have a serious disease. We really didn't have sex much. Thank God. To this day, I feel like I don't even know who he is. I don't even know who the person I was married to was. He could have a secret apartment for 8 months. I don't even know if that was his first apartment. He did make a lot of money. He could have pulled off so many things. There was just so many things that happened over the years. Like all made sense finally. I'm not crazy. I was never crazy.
Exactly. I was about to say you were never crazy.
You never.
No, but I know they all tell this woman, like, you're crazy, you're losing it. What are you talking about? And I believed it. I was like, maybe I am going crazy because of the incident that happened when my son was a baby. You know, that's still on my mind and it's playing tricks on me. And I believed him. So
Where are you now? Are you okay?
where am I now? So I'm getting married in September. I'm engaged, the most wonderful person.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So the day I filed for divorce, my friends were like, what now? Like, what do you want to do? I was like, I would like to start dating. I feel amazing.
That is so good.
Did you mourn it? Like, I think the process of you figuring it out was like your mourning.
It was mourning for like the last 2 years, which I found now, like that's pretty typical. People say the last 2 years they were like checked out of the marriage, but they stayed
That was
in
me.
it.
That's me.
Right? Do you feel the last 2 years
100%.
was like just in it because I gotta be. The last 2 years I was like, just I gotta pay this mortgage, I gotta raise these kids. And I had a therapist those last 2 years too. And I was always telling her, like, I'm so unhappy with him, but I feel like I have to stick this out. I need a commitment. I was so ready. And then I was single and I didn't know how to date. So everyone was like, you have to go on the apps. And I was like, oh gosh.
It's a shit show.
But I
really
did it.
is.
I met a guy on the apps. He's amazing. So
Nice.
it worked out.
Yeah.
What's the statute of limitations on breaking and entering? Just wondering.
That part.
Because we want to make sure that like that's gone.
So later in the whole chaos of us getting divorced, he was determined to have me arrested for that. He was, and his brother was in law enforcement. So they really like hatched up a plan to have me arrested. And they just couldn't because the police were like, there's no proof that she did it. Like this isn't a real crime and nothing was taken. So he ended up cooking up a plan with his brother to say that I beat him up and they made a citizen's arrest and I went to jail overnight.
Okay, you're right.
Wait, they made up this story that this happened?
I mean, it's a really funny story. It was a Saturday. I had just gotten back from a communion party with the kids. I'm making dinner and he walked in the house. He was allowed to come in and out of the house, which was hell for me until I finally got like an order from the court that he couldn't. And I was like, oh, like, why are you here? And he would never speak to me. He would just ignore me no matter what I said. And he would videotape me the whole time. So I was like, okay, we're going to do that.
Trying to make himself look like the victim.
What a jerk.
Of course. He was in the house. He talked to the kids for a little bit. And I was like, I need you to leave. It's really uncomfortable when you're here. He never even talked back to me. He left the house. And then the cops come. The cops had been coming regularly. I had called them. He had called them. I kind of called them every time he came to the house because there was times where I'd sleep during the day because they work nights and I'd wake up in the middle of the day and he was in the house while I was sleeping. And I just said, like, this is so uncomfortable for me and it should be uncomfortable for you too. Please stop coming here.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
When the kids were home too, or the kids weren't even home?
No, the kids weren't even home when he would come during the day. I woke up one day in the middle. I like woke up and he was standing in the bedroom. But I didn't have an order of exclusive occupancy. Yes. He was like standing over me, which he
Horrifying.
was like, I was just getting something I needed. And I was like, I can't live like this. But the cops were like, that's not a crime. It's his home. He can be there. So I couldn't do anything. So the cops came. I was like, he called you guys. I don't even know why. He's leaving. It's over. So then he was out of his car. He motioned to the officer. He talked to the officer at his car. The officer comes to the front door to talk to me. He's like, did you assault him? I'm like, what? He's like, did you assault him? I'm like, no. He's like, well, he's saying that you beat him up and he wants to press charges. I'm like, okay, I did it. Can he do that? He's like, we're not going to arrest you, but he could do a citizen's arrest. I'm like, is that a real thing? And he said it was, but he said, let me call my supervisor to come over here and talk to him. We'll talk him out of it. The supervisor comes to talk him out of it. He's saying adamantly, no, I want her arrested. And my kids are there the whole time. And my kids are like, Mom, the cops are here. And they're giving them coloring books and like petting our dog. And my kids think it's like so exciting. And I'm like, I'm going to get arrested. These kids have no idea. The cops were amazing, I have to say. They felt so bad. So then they called a woman cop to come. So the woman cop takes me in the house. She's like, listen, I am so sorry. We are going to have to arrest you tonight. I was like, what? So I called my mom at this point too. She had come over. My mom's like, I'm sorry, I'm stepping in here. Absolutely not. I said, no, I'm putting my foot down here. She's not getting arrested. They were like, Mom, like, this is not a time where you can deny the permission slip. She's getting arrested.
That's so mom behavior. It's like, no. Actually, I'm in charge. And the queen says no.
Female officer, like, she's like, I'm going to tell you exactly how it's going to go down. I'm going to take care of everything. Don't panic. It's going to be fine. She told the kids that he got hurt and he has to go to the hospital and I have to go with him. So the cops are going to drive me. So my kids are like, really? My mom's going in a cop car? She's like, yep. And they were like, oh, so cool. I was like,
oh my God. That is so
I know.
cute. That was nice of her.
So then I went upstairs. She was like, girl, brush your teeth, wash your face. There's no toothbrushes in jail. She's like, it's so cold. You got to layer up. She like picked my clothes from my closet. She dressed me. She cut the strings out of my sweatpants. She was like, double your socks. I got to take your sneakers.
Aww.
Like I had no idea what was happening. So then they took me out to the car. She had me wave goodbye to the kids. And then she opened the door. And when I was behind the door, they handcuffed me. I went in the car. They took me up to the precinct. They played music in the car and they charged my phone too. My phone was dying. So she was like, we're going to book you. She's like,
so they knew they just had to do what they had to do.
They had to do it. She's like, I'm so sorry. Sometimes this happens. So
even though you didn't assault him,
it was a citizen's arrest. So the police don't think you committed a crime, but citizens have the right to make an arrest. Is how they explained it to me. She's like, it's a harassment charge. It's going to get thrown out. Do not worry about it. She was so nice. So they booked me. It was like the whole thing in the movies. And then she's like, you can't stay here tonight because we don't hold women here. You got to go to a different precinct. So I went to a different precinct where they hold women overnight. I slept in this little cell. They got me like a hot breakfast in the morning. And then I was like, what happens now? Like it was so an outer body experience. They came in the morning. They took me out of the cell. They like strip you down again. I had been strip searched at this point like so many times. The ladies were so nice there too. They were like, you had 3 kids. You look really good. I was like, thank you. Thank you. And then you go on like a chain gang. I got chained with a bunch of women. You go in the back of the paddy wagon and they take you up to the courthouse to be arraigned. She did tell me that was going to happen. She's like, when you get to the courthouse, you're going to go into a big cell with all the women who got arrested in the county that night. And that's going to be like the movies. Like you see in the movies when everyone's sitting in the cell together. So I was like, okay. So I asked the girls that were in the paddy wagon with me, I'm like, what's going to happen? They were like, oh, we get arrested all the time. They were like telling me, they were like regulars. So then we get there, they put us in the big cell with all the other women. And then everyone was like going around saying what they did. And then I was like, oh, well, my husband has a secret apartment that I discovered with the help of a private. They were like, whoa, back up, tell the whole story.
Wait, this is backfiring for him because now you're getting a bunch of friends who are all like, let's go get him.
They were like loving it.
And they don't give a fuck because they go to jail every day. They don't care.
They didn't give a fuck. They were like, oh my God. They were so interested in this story. Everybody was laughing. They were saying stuff about their boyfriends. I got arraigned. My best friend had called a lawyer for me. So that was nice. There was a lawyer waiting for me. The whole thing got thrown out. It took like a few months to get rid of it, but it got thrown out. When I left jail, like in the afternoon, they were like, bye, Alexis. It was so nice to meet you. I was like, good luck with everything, ladies. Bye.
That is kind of hilarious, actually.
And it was fine. Everyone's like, oh my God, how was it being in jail with all the criminals? I'm like, it was like the best day. I had so much fun.
It was like camp.
It was the best day ever. It was like camp. I went to jail and it was like camp.
They were all like, had been arrested before. They were like, do you get a public defender? I was like, no, I don't think so. They're like, all right. They told me, I was like, I'm so hungry. They're like, we're going to get turkey sandwiches. They bring them. Just wait. You can have as many as you want. I was like, all right. So
that is,
my God.
Oh my God.
I didn't even care. I was like, I've been through so much shit. I don't go to jail. Sure. Fine. I'll do anything now. I don't care. I feel great.
Wow.
I felt great.
I love how like the release feeling and then just getting him out of your life was like, it's like washing your hair. You're like,
it's been years and I still feel like, so to this day, like I'm still in that high where I'm like, I am free of a very bad person in my life. It feels so good. I felt like a million bricks came off my shoulders.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm obsessed with your friends. I'm obsessed with you because obviously you make good friends in jail and anywhere else. So they told you their opinions throughout and you had to see it for yourself. So if one of your friends was going through this kind of thing, what would you say to them as a friend that's been through it?
You never make somebody feel bad because they're staying in an abusive or cheating relationship because it is so hard to leave. And my friends never made me feel bad about it. They were never like, you idiot. Like, what are you doing? They were always like, when you're ready to go, you'll go. because when you make a friend feel bad, they just stop telling you. And then they just like keep it inside. My friends are like, we support you no matter what you choose. And they always stayed that way. When I was finally ready to go, they were so happy. But when I wasn't ready, they were like, okay, well, maybe if he has sex with another girl, you'll be ready.
Thank you for sharing that, because we had a professional that was saying that that's one thing that you don't want to do is pressure someone to, or make someone feel stupid for not leaving an abusive relationship, because you want to be
I
supportive
think it
of them.
happens
So you
all the
kind of have
time.
to,
People
yeah.
feel like they're doing a favor to be like, you idiot, like you have to get out.
But then they don't want to come to you anymore.
That's right. It just isolates them more.
Yeah. And it's not even just like any kind of relationship that you're outgrowing. It's like you have to do it yourself. And there's no shame in that. There's also no shame in wanting it to work for your kids, for yourself, whatever. And I don't think it's a bad thing to have hope. You just eventually get to give it to the right person.
I know.
So we need pictures of this new fella, and I want you to keep us updated and see how you guys are doing. Thank you so
And
much.
we Googled him and stuff, obviously.
We did been verified for any guy that any of us ever went out with. And
Love
he was
that.
like clean. And then he's divorced as well. So I was like, tell me about your ex-wife. It's a trick question. Is she crazy? And he's like, oh, my ex-wife? No, she's not crazy. He's like, she's an amazing mom. Like we grew apart. She's remarried. And she's actually amazing. I love his ex-wife. She's great. So supportive. So yeah,
It worked out.
he's great. She's great. They're all great.
I love that so, so much. Someone said on my social media, someone made a comment. They said, I have years of investigative experience. I've been online dating for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's the truth though. Oh God, online dating was not the same experience for me because I came out of such a bad relationship that I was like, what's he gonna do? Get a secret apartment and sleep with everybody at his
Right?
job?
Call the cops on me? Child's play.
How long did it take you to trust him?
I never didn't trust him. I know you guys have discussed on your podcast like betrayal trauma. I feel like I don't really have that because I had the therapist for 2 years before I got divorced, and I still have a therapist now. I never left my therapist. I go faithfully every week, and I just felt like very good about him. And he never gives me a reason not to trust him. He lives such a wholesome life. He goes to work. He communicates with me through the day. He comes home. He just is such a great guy. And his ex-wife was like, I'll vouch for him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, that's helpful though.
Hannah's happy because Hannah loves happy endings, so she loves it.
I want to see the wedding pictures when you get married. When are you getting married?
We just got our engagement pictures back today in September.
Send them.
Please send us.
My wedding is planned. Getting married on a farm. We're so excited. I never had a wedding with the first one because we got married at court. It was my first wedding, the whole thing, like my first time I got my dress, having the whole bridal experience. Very exciting. The kids are so happy. They love him.
I love that the kids are happy for you. That's awesome.
The kids actually love Polly too.
Whatever. I mean, it's fine.
No, I'm fine with it. My daughter said once, she's like, Mom, Dad, he lives with Polly. And I have to say, Polly's like one of the best babysitters he's ever had. I was like, that's so nice. Babysitter!
Did she mean babysitting the kids or babysitting her dad?
I don't know, but that's what she said. The babysitter.
That's hilarious. Thank you again so much. You're so brave for telling your story. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Woo! So, first of all, happy ending. I love happy endings. That makes me so, so happy.
She's sending us her engagement photos and everything is good and her kids are okay. And he sounds like he's okay. And Polly's okay.
And that's fine. And it's okay for everyone to be okay. But this went on for so long.
Well, let's talk about how hard it is to leave.
Well, she's a good representation of why people don't leave. Like, she's home taking care of the kids and doing all, and believing her husband when he's telling her all these things. And she's just trying to support him.
I also just think that she emphasized so much how much she loved other aspects of her life. She was like, I love my job. I loved my kids. I loved my house. I loved our our income. I loved my friends. I lived 2 doors down from my best friend and then my other best friend. You know what I mean? Like she was like, leaving my husband will just throw everything up in the air. And that's
so much insecurity for her.
Yeah, I love when she said that like she wasn't sure if she could throw her life away from rumors.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like that little string that you're like, do I want to pull it?
Yep. And at that point, it's like, do I believe this, or is this all just, is this a facade? Like what is real and what isn't? And you don't want to believe it because this is someone you love. So gosh, what a hard, but I do love that when her friends would talk to her, like when her friends knew what was going on, her friends were never mean to her. Like, oh, I can't believe you don't leave him. Like, that's so stupid of you. Like, how could you not? They were supportive of her. And if she wasn't ready to leave, they were like, okay, well, we're here for you. And yeah, they just supported her.
Yeah. They were like, they weren't dishonest, like if she asked them or showed things, they would be like, well, I think that means there's a woman there. And then if it was a way for her to like, tell herself a different story, which is like how she probably was coping, they were like, okay, we're here. I was thinking about when Harry met Sally, the Carrie Fisher character that's always like dating married men. And they're like nicely kind of like, yeah, he's not going to leave his wife. And it's like, it takes time. Like, I know that was like this running joke, but it's like, I don't know. Like now I have a whole different perspective on, I mean, obviously Carrie Fisher probably shouldn't have been dating married men. So that's a whole other thing. That's where we could talk about poly. Carrie Fisher was a little bit of a poly situation where she knew she was dating a man with a wife and kids.
Yeah. And she had a fiance herself.
Oh my God, true. I felt weird that in the episode was like, what a bitch. And it didn't sit right with me, even though the sentiment still stands where it's like, she was doing bitchy things. I don't know. I just wanted to point out that afterwards I was like, I don't like that I called her that because she was like young and I don't know her story. Like I'm hearing his story. Yeah. I'll call him a bitch. I'll call him a narcissist. How about that? But I just was like putting that out there.
Well, I want to be careful when I say this, but there's always two sides to every story. But let's not discount the fact that everything he did, she's got proof for. Like this is not something she's just like making up. You know what I mean? So
that's why I was like, I feel weird that I like yelled about this one lady that I actually don't know her story. Also, totally anybody can come for me for my bias. Like I do give a little bit more slack to women because I'm like, what's her story before I judge? And men, sometimes I'm like, I've heard your story before, so I should hear their story. Yeah. And that is something we keep saying. We would love to hear stories from men, no matter what you've been through.
We want to hear, and we want to hear, I want to hear stories from other polys. I want to hear stories from women like Polly who did get with a married man and how that went. And what did you think about, like when you were out to dinner together, like, did you ever have to like look over your shoulder? Like, yeah. I want to know those things. Like, what was your experience in that?
Yeah. Because I think, I mean, as easy as it is to write off all cases, once a cheater, always a cheater. It's like, there are different types of it. There's different things that lead you to that. It's not okay. It's not okay. I'm not saying it's okay. But I mean, one thing he did very well was to use his trauma from childhood and his family to justify some of his behavior, which is not okay. Like I always say, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. So Polly, whatever you went through, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility, girl. Okay. But I'm glad it worked out and I'm glad you're nice to the kids. That's my message to Polly.
It is good that the kids are okay with it. Like
I'm like, go to therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And that was so interesting where she was like, they see their dad more now. Like it's honestly better.
It is really interesting. But it kills me how long it went on. But I feel like Alexis feels really good about where she is now. The kids are happy. And I just feel like everything happens for a reason. And it sounds so cliche and might even sound dumb, but it's not untrue. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. I'm looking at my other notes because so many things happened that led her there. I mean, it wasn't just like, I loved when she and her friends were Instagram sleuthing like one of my own. Oh, the way they went to the mutual friend of the mutual friend, got that screenshot, connected it to the other screenshot. I was like, that is what we got to do.
Yes, people don't realize how easy it is to just get that information. It just requires you to pay attention. That's all. You just got to pay
Yeah.
attention.
It's so funny how like, and also I get it. Okay. Confessions of a recovering Instagram sleuther to the max. Like I've had,
Recovering?
yeah, thank you. I'm not totally, but
we still do that. Why
no,
are
of
we-
course I do.
We're not stopping.
For good, I'm not stopping. I used to sleuth. I'm not saying the word I'm not allowed to say. I used to sleuth on my partner's exes like nobody's business. And when I tell you, my therapist was like, we got to talk about this. Like, what's going on? Because I was like triggering myself. And it wasn't about the person. It was about like me comparing myself to everybody else
the
around
comparison
me.
trap. Yep.
And I was able to find out so freaking much. I worked on it because I'm like, why are you doing this? But it did teach me so much about what information is available. And I've had partners be like, how do you do that? Like, that's not normal that you can even figure that out. And I'm like, no, hold my mascara. Like, it is normal. Trust me. Like, women know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
Pretty good
it's
at
for
it.
our own anxiety and we need to talk to therapists about it, or it's to make sure we're not getting dogfished.
Yeah. It's a
And I
fine
wasn't.
line. It's a fine
Because I looked a lot. No, but I mean, it's hard. It's hard with all that information out there, but it's better in the end. Well, the women in the story just made me so, I literally texted you guys afterwards. I was like, women are magic. I was like emotional based on the bond of the friendships of like them all coming to her side. The women in jail.
Dude, snaps in the snap cup for her besties and the jail cellmates that were like, girl, we've been in prison before. We ain't afraid to go back. Give us his name.
Oh my God. Also, just like how nice they were to her. Like,
Yeah.
they're like,
It
oh,
was a
this is what's going to
sisterhood.
happen.
We're all
I
in
was
prison
like-
together. It's fine. Oh, don't worry. I've been here 20 times. Your shoes are uncomfortable. You get 2 turkey sandwiches. It's fine.
It's going to be fine. You can have as many as you want. I was like, wow.
I love it.
I mean, not that going to jail is like on the bucket list, but I was like, I mean, that's nice to know that people like,
They were there for her.
I know women are magic. And I just loved all her friends. And I think she's probably a great friend and probably like so helpful to anybody else that is going through something, because she's got that kind of like funny but direct approach to navigating it.
So yeah, we really appreciate Alexis telling her story. And as you can see, like these stories vary from different experiences and different levels of what we might consider interesting, or like you might not share your story because like, this isn't interesting enough or this wasn't bad enough or whatever. Please share your story. If you need a voice, share with us your story, because this is just about different experiences, not one particular type of situation. And on the Patreon, we do a little email reading. So if you send us an email and tell us your story, if it's not something that's maybe it doesn't make the main feed, maybe we can share your story on the Patreon when we do the emails, because those are always crazy and interesting. And we like to support you in that way too. So.
And I just want to get to chat with all of you about what you're going through and let you know that you're not crazy. That feeling she had at the end of like, oh, the release. I'm not crazy. How many people have shared that with us?
She said she still feels that way. Like she still feels so relieved, like just relief. And
I'm so happy
it was
for
like,
her.
And a lot of people are like, oh, I was so sad. But I think a lot of people also have said, I felt relieved. It's because you know, and you know you knew, and you knew that you knew that you knew. And then when you could finally, everybody else knows that you know now, and you know that they know, and they know that you know that they know. And now it's just like relief. And then it's like, haha, I knew.
I do hope like I want to reach through the microphone to anybody that's maybe scared, but is in that position where they know, you know, they are femtuition knows. And it's like, it will be really hard, but it also will feel like a huge weight lifted off your shoulders. And just get your people around you. We're part of that. We're here for you.
Can we real quick? I want to talk about the private investigator.
Oh, yeah.
When she calls the private investigator and says, I think my husband's cheating, whatever, I want to see what's going on. And the private investigator says, listen, in the city, I don't know if you guys have ever been in New York City, but every time I go to New York City, I'm like, I do not know how I would do surveillance here. And I've been doing this 20 years. Okay. So when the private investigator is like, this is in the city, I don't know, like you're going to need to narrow it down. The private investigator was not blowing her off. Like initially I was like, ew. And then I thought about New York City. And I'm like, yeah, this tracks. So the private investigator was basically saying, listen, you're going to waste your money if you don't narrow this down. And so she was saying, get me a little bit more detailed information. And that's what Alexis did. And that's when the private investigator was like, okay. And then the main thing that private investigators have is resources that law enforcement and regular citizens don't have. And that is databases. And there are databases that private investigators have that law enforcement does not have, just because of different legalities and different, different laws, rules, whatever.
Interesting.
We are bound by a different set of guidelines than law enforcement, right? So it's a whole different can of worms. So the private investigator, I think she said, I hired the private investigator because she was young, she was a female, because that's who she related to, right? So I think that the private investigator did the right thing by saying,
it sounded
hey,
like she was like,
money.
She didn't take advantage of her. Like she was like, no, I'm not going to sit there and get no information, because he had so many jobs and he wouldn't even tell his wife where he was.
Oh, it was crazy. And then he would just like disappear for 3 and 4 days at a time. Like, where are you going?
Oh my God. My favorite was when he was like, yeah, in Texas, they just like don't have internet. I'm like, it's not.
There's no internet
It's a
in
developed
Texas.
place. Like, girl, where are you? Are you camping? Like, come on.
There's no internet in Texas, y'all. There's guns, but no internet.
There's no internet.
Anyway, so thank you again to Alexis. If you have any kind words for her, just share them on our socials. If you want to message us, we will relay them to her. And again, I'm so grateful for her sharing her story, because it just goes to show you that these experiences are so different from one another. And if you're going through something like this where you just feel like you're absolutely bonkers and you're like, I'm crazy, like I've got to be crazy, you might not be.
Yeah, you're probably not. Even if you are a little bit wrong or whatever, it's like you're allowed to feel that way, whether you want to work it out with your couples therapist or, oh my God, they went to couples therapy and he like played them and the therapist was like, so I'm getting some narcissistic. We didn't talk about that. We don't have to go into it because I know we're wrapping up, but the narcissist, definitely, like the way she talked about his narcissism, like
100%.
the fact that it will never go away and unless he does deep therapy. I was like, oh, we haven't? Yeah, that applies to a lot of people we've heard about.
Yep, it definitely does. But again, continue the conversation on Patreon. It's $5 a month. Come join us on Patreon. Continue to share the dating detectives. We appreciate that. And we love your support so much. It just really means the world to us and your friendship. So thank you guys.
And you can email us your stories. Wait, really quick.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you the email address.
Yeah, you got it.
The email address is investigate@thedatingdetectivespodcast.com.
Nailed it.
Love it.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
So proud.
email us your stories. Thank you.
Okay, so yes, all stories, any stories, we want them all. And now, as always,
Trust your intuition.
Trust your intuition.
intuition.
Mwah.